What's up, my friend? Welcome back to the Finding Direction podcast. This week, we're doing another bonus episode where it's going to be you and myself having a conversation looking at how do you find your purpose? How do you live in that purpose? And ultimately, how do you maximize living your purpose and living in this experience that we have called life? And before we dive into some of the juiciness today, we're going to be talking about the top three major things that successful, happy, and fulfilled people do. And I'm going to be pulling from the different guests that we've had on this show and all the things that I've observed after doing, over 280 episodes, the different things we've pulled from all of these different guests. And so I'm excited to share those with you. But before we do that, I want you to take just a quick moment and ask yourself right now, what is one thing that you could be deeply grateful for in your life? One of the biggest things we talk about all the time on this show is regardless of what we're going through in life, there's always something you can be grateful for. And if you make gratitude a central piece of your life, whether you have the best day of your life or whether you're having the worst day of your life, if you can find something to be grateful for, that is going to allow you to enjoy your life more. And also, and you'll actually hear a lot more of this on the episodes coming up this week because we're talking a little bit in the upcoming episode after this about quantum physics and how gratitude actually attracts and brings things to you in your life even faster. So regardless of all of that, make sure that you ask yourself, what is one thing you can be deeply grateful for in your life right now? And real quick, just put your hands on your heart and just allow yourself to feel that gratitude. It could be gratitude for your breath. It could be gratitude for someone in your life. It could be gratitude for a recent opportunity that came into your life. It could be gratitude for the work that you get to do. It could be something ginormous. It could be something tiny, but find that piece of gratitude. And then let's walk into today's episode with that gratitude being at our core. Now, as we dive into the episode for today and the juicy stuff, again, we're going to be talking about the top three major things that successful, happy, and fulfilled people do. And the first one, and even one thing I want you to pick up on the title of this episode, right, is the top three major things that successful, happy, and fulfilled people do. And you want to ask yourself, are you majoring in minor things, right? Are you majoring in the problems, the things that are going wrong, or are you majoring in the major things in your life, the things that really move the needle for you in your life, the things that really bring you fulfillment, successful, happiness? And so that is what these three things are going to be, is majoring on the major things, not majoring on the minor things. All right. And the first thing that successful, happy, fulfilled people do is they listen to their inner guide like their life depends on it. They listen to the inner guide like their life depends on it. So what do we mean by that is these people, they listen to their gut, they listen to their intuition, they listen to that inner knowingness that is always pulling them to the next chapter of their life. And as you think about this inner knowingness, this inner guide, this inner GPS, whatever we want to call it, I want you to ask yourself, was there ever a moment in your life where you felt like you listened to this inner guide, this inner knowingness, and it was totally against the grain from everything else anybody was suggesting, but you just knew that there was something right about it? You just, everybody might have said that's crazy, that doesn't make sense, that's, you shouldn't do that, but there was some knowingness in you that was like, no, this is what I'm supposed to do with my life. And that is what successful, fulfilled, happy people do, is they, number one, they build an incredible relationship with that inner knowingness, and they understand that it's a muscle, right? That if you never use it, you lose it, right? You don't use it, you lose it. But the more that you use that inner knowingness as your guide, the more you build a relationship with it, the stronger it's going to get, until you get to some point where you are just feeling extraordinarily guided in your life because you have a relationship with that knowingness, which is really the only thing that knows where you're supposed to go in your life, what you're supposed to be doing, what that next chapter is. You could ask your mom, your dad, your friend, your, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, what, you could ask everybody, what should I do next with my life? What am I supposed to be doing? Is this the right thing? And everybody could give you their opinion. Everybody could give you their advice. And it might be great advice, might be some great opinions, But at the end of the day, the only way that you'll get to where you're truly meant to be is by following that inner knowingness that you have. They may have great opinions, they may give you great perspective, but after that, when you make that decision for the next step of your life, you want to get quiet with yourself, feel and hear, or however you connect with that inner knowingness, and you want to let that guide you to the next step. All right. One example in my own life when this happened is when I was 20 years old. I was going to college and I was introduced to a business, and I decided to leave college temporarily. I thought I was honestly going to never go back. I thought I was going to drop out of school and just never go back to college. I didn't really love college, right? And so I got an opportunity to leave because this business was doing great. And at the time, I believed it made more sense to leave school and pursue something that I was on fire for in my life rather than go to school just because everybody was supposed to do it. And when I went and made this decision, fortunately, I did have the support of my parents. I'm extremely grateful for that. And I kind of led with the, hey, we'll do it for a semester. And once I was out for a semester, I was like, okay, it's going to turn into 2. And eventually it turned into 3 years that I left school. But the point I'm getting at is when I did this and I started to tell my family, I started to tell my friends, my next door neighbor, I would say probably 90% of people kind of just stared at me and they were like, what do you mean you're dropping out of school? And that's what I told. I didn't tell anybody I was going back. I said, yeah, I left college and it's not for me. I'm not going to do that. And so many people criticized me. So many people critiqued me. So many people judged me, whether it was out loud to my face. Some people did. And some people judged me, behind the doors. And what was really interesting is, society says you're supposed to go to school, get grades, and you go to college for 4 years. And that's just the plan you're supposed to take. And if you don't take it, everybody looks at you in this weird way. And everybody's got their own unique path. So for me, that wasn't the path I was supposed to take, was going straight through 4 or 5 years of university. My plan, because I followed that inner knowingness, was I'm supposed to leave school right now. And it didn't fully make a ton of sense. I had an idea of why I wanted to do it. But as I look back on my life now, and that was about 9 years ago, that might have been the greatest thing I've ever did in my life. That was a decision that I made because I felt in my inner being that it's what I was supposed to do. That is a huge reason that I am doing what I'm doing today. It's a huge reason for the success that I've had in my life because I made that decision. I followed that inner knowingness, right? So make sure you follow the inner knowingness. Another one that I had, and then we'll get to number 2, is when I was, I think, 24, I was really lost in my life. And I decided that for some reason, I decided to travel. And the reason I decided to do that is after 3 years of leaving school, I went back for a semester, and my parents were honestly really excited. My dad was pumped. I was back in school. And after about 2 months of being back in school, I got this gut feeling that just said, hey, you've always wanted to go to New Zealand. You should go to New Zealand. You should just book a one-way flight and go. And this one really made no sense to anybody, even more so than the leaving school, because people were like, what do you mean you're going to book a one-way flight? It doesn't. And so I ended up booking a one-way flight. I ended up going to New Zealand. And 3 days into being in New Zealand, I found out that I had testicular cancer. And I'm healthy today. So if you're wondering, I'm cancer-free today, which is amazing. And I don't know the answer to this question, but I don't know if I didn't go to New Zealand, if I would have found the testicular cancer. I don't know if maybe it wouldn't have showed up in the same way, or if if it could have been worse. But there's some part of me that believes that because I followed that inner knowingness and went to New Zealand, and before that went to Bali for 3 weeks, some part of me believes that I found it, and I found it in New Zealand because of the things that had been going on my trip. So the point that I'm getting at here is I would say number 3 successful, happy, fulfilled people do. The top 3 thing is they listen to their inner guide like their life depends on it, because your life truly does depend on it. So make sure you're listening to your inner guide. Make sure you're listening to your gut, and make sure you're doing it like your life depends on it, because your life does depend on it. Your happiness, your success, your fulfillment. So that's the top 3, the number 3 thing people do. And the number 2 of the top three major things successful, happy, fulfilled people do is they never stop learning and growing. They never stop learning and growing. Now, I mentioned just a little bit ago that college wasn't for me. I eventually went back and I graduated and I did that. I got the diploma, excuse me. And, I guess I'm happy that I did it, but I was never someone that really liked school, but I love learning, right? And I want you to differentiate that first fact. There's school and then there's learning, right? I used to hate reading growing up because I had to go into elementary school and middle school and read these books that I didn't care about and they didn't do anything for my life. And like, I hated reading. My parents used to offer to pay me to read. And I was just like, I'm not going to take the $10 to read the book because like, I hate reading. I will never read in my life. It was just the furthest thing from anything I ever wanted to do. But when I eventually got into personal development, I learned that there were things that I could read that wasn't necessarily school, but it was a different style of learning. It was that I could learn about something specifically that I wanted to learn, and it could save years of my life because I could learn from somebody else's experience. So I was able to learn through some of those things. And so successful, happy, fulfilled people, they grow and they never stop learning for two reasons. Number one, if you want to continue to progress in your life, in your career, if you want to continue to get to that next level, it's always going to require a different level of value from you, right? If you're at a certain place in your life or your career, in order to get to the next place in your life and your career, you need to bring another level of value. You need to bring another level of wisdom. You need to bring another level of skill sets. And you learn through that in two different ways. One, through experiencing it, right? Maybe you fail, you learn something, you move to the next. And the other way is by absorbing knowledge and wisdom from other people. So one of the reasons that successful, happy, fulfilled people are always learning, they're always growing, is because they know that in order to get to the next level of your life, it requires a new you, right? I was just talking to someone earlier and it was like, if you want things to change, you must change. If you want your life to be better, you must get better, right? Don't wish it were easier. Wish that you were better. Don't wish it were easier to get the promotion. Wish you were better. Don't wish it were easier to make more money. Wish you were better. Don't wish it were easier to be happier. Wish you were better. And if you take that sort of idea that I need to learn, I need to grow to get to the next level, that's going to allow you to be successful, fulfilled, and happy in your life. So that's one of the main reasons successful, happy, fulfilled people do this is they know it requires a new level of them to get to the next level of their life. You can't get different result with the same you. All right. I said it about 300 different ways. You get the point. So that's the number one reason they do it. And the number two reason why successful, happy, fulfilled people never stop learning and never stop growing is, and I want you to remember this, but two words, progress. I guess there's technically three words. Progress equals happiness. Progress equals happiness, right? Think about it. In the moments of your life when you're growing, and this could be growing from, maybe you grow by reading a book, right? Maybe you grow by doing something different in your career. Maybe you grow by going on a trip and experiencing a different culture, a different place. But when you grow and you progress, that is what creates happiness in your life. When you grow and you progress, that's how you create happiness, right? Versus if you think about it, the moments when you're not as happy, the moments when you're, not as excited about your life, you probably aren't really growing as much as you could be, right? Maybe you're not growing. Maybe you're not progressing in your life. So another reason that they have this never stop learning, never stop growing mentality is because they know that as they progress from this learning and growing, it's going to create more happiness in their life, right? So ask yourself, right? Are you progressing? And if you are, that'll bring you happiness, right? And one of the ways you progress is by learning and growing. All right. So that is the number two of the top three major things that successful, happy, and fulfilled people do. And the number one thing that the number one thing of the top three major things that successful, happy, and fulfilled people do is they go for what they really want. Listen, think about that. The number one thing of the top three major three things successful, happy, and fulfilled people do is they go for what they really want in their life. They do not go for something because it's what others want for them. They do not go for something because they think it's going to make them look good. They don't go for something because they think that's what society says they're supposed to do. They look at life a different way and they go, what do I really want in life? Without the fear, without the restraints, without the mental blocks that you can create in your mind. And they go, if I didn't have to think about any things getting in my way, what do I really want? And when they get the answer to that question, they pursue it with all of their being. They pursue it with all of their being. They go for what they really want. Sometimes what can happen, and if you're listening to this, maybe ask yourself if this has happened to yourself. Maybe you've asked yourself before, well, what do I really want in my life? And then all of a sudden your logical brain comes in and goes, well, no, you couldn't do that because of this, or, that thing's going to get in your way and you don't know how to do this. And that's not, and all of a sudden your brain starts telling you, you can't do it because of this. And the majority of people listen to those things and they go, okay, well, I'm not really going to go for this. And oftentimes it can happen enough and we create these mental blocks for us quick enough that even when someone asks us, what do we really want? We can go, well, I don't really know. And the truth is, what you really want. You just may be putting limitations on yourself. If you took the limitations away, if you took the fear away, if you took the scarcity mindset away and you ask yourself, what do you really want? If anything was possible, you will find an answer. And what successful, happy, fulfilled people do is they then pursue that like their life depends on it, right? We talk about it here on the show all the time that you deserve to live a life that you love. You deserve to live a life that you're excited about. You deserve to live a life where you wake up out of bed and you jump out of your seat because you're doing something that you really want, right? It's like if you loved snowboarding and you got to wake up every single day and do it, you'd be excited because that's what you want and you're doing what you want. So you got to get clear on what do you really want in your life without the limitations, without the limiting beliefs, without the objections that you create for yourself, without the walls you put up in your mind, the mental walls. What is it that you really want? And what successful, happy, and fulfilled people do in relation to this is they set a higher standard for themselves. They set a higher standard for their life, and they set a higher standard for what they deserve. Right? There's this sense of, if I'm here on this earth and I had 1 in 7 trillion chances to be the lucky sperm, right, that made it to the egg and all of a sudden became me as a human, like if I had 1 in 7 trillion chances to become a human being and I succeeded at that, I should be bold enough to go for what I actually want in my life. And so that is what successful people do. That is the number one thing successful, happy, and fulfilled people do, is they know what they want and they go for it like their life depends on it. So those are the top 3 major things that successful, happy, and fulfilled people do. Is, again, the top 3 thing they do. The number 3 thing is they listen to their inner guide like their life depends on it, because it does. The second thing is they never stop learning. They never stop growing. And then finally, the number 1 thing that they do is they go for what they really want in their life and not what others want for them. So as you hear these 3 things, ask yourself, are you doing these in your life? Do you need to increase some of these? Are you going, man, I'm always learning, I'm always growing, and that's great. So I check off number 2, but I don't really listen to my inner guide. I don't really listen to that knowingness that I know is there. So maybe you need to crank that one up. Maybe you're listening to this and you're going, man, I'm not going for anything that I want. I'm doing this because my parents wanted it. I'm doing it because it's going to pay the bills, but it's not really what I want. So look at those 3 things. Maybe go through the episode 1, 2, 3 more times and really absorb this and ask yourself, what of those 3 things are you doing in your life? And which ones do you need to increase? Which ones do you need to turn the lever up on and do more of in your life? And if you start doing all 3 of these things, I promise you, you're going to create a more successful, a more happy, and a more fulfilled life. So go out there, start turning up the dial on some of these things, and watch how your life will begin to change. That is what we have for the top 3 this week. And if you enjoyed this episode, 3 things I want to ask you if you'd be open to doing. And one is that if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and go to the iTunes store and just leave us a review. Let us know your honest feedback on what are you liking? What do you want more of? Maybe what's the number 1 nugget you took from this episode? And if you write us a quick review, it is honestly one of the best ways we can get in front of people. And we would just be so grateful. I would be so grateful to just hear your thoughts, to read about it, to get back to you, right? And to make sure that we take that feedback and then implement it into the show. So number one, if you're open, go leave something on iTunes as a review. Number two, share this with a friend that you know is looking to find direction or maximize living in their purpose. And then the third thing you could do is just take something from this episode and go actually implement it in your life. All right, go turn up one of those levers. And that's all I ask of you is just do one of those three things. Either way, whichever one you pick, I am grateful that you've spent some time here hanging out with us. Again, make sure that you go through the rest of your day, have that gratitude, and I hope you have an absolutely unbelievable, outstanding, highly blessed, and highly favored rest of your day. Thank you for being here with me for another episode. If you want to stick around, don't feel like you need to go anywhere. I'm going to have another episode coming up right after this with myself and a guest. And if you want to hang around, you are more than welcome to check that out. So I will talk to you on the podcast soon. Take care, my friend.